happy to have everybody here, and we'll go ahead and get this kicked off. So my name is Anthony Escobedo. I'm from Concurrency. We have a couple of offices here in Milwaukee and Minnesota, and down there in Chicagoland. So we have a few different offices. We're based out of the Midwest, but we do work with pretty much all over the country, and then also I've been doing some work out of Germany and France in the most recent times. So what I'd like to talk today about is the day in the life of a Power Platform admin. And you'll see my big fancy cursor running around, and that's going to be where you're going to be able to see that pretty easily. But to dive into the agenda, so really it's going to dive into three main categories: the people, the process, and the technology. And I think it's pretty telling here, the people side of things. You can see that that's a larger gear. There's going to be a lot more people involved. The technology, although obviously very important, it's not going to be the thing that makes everything. It's not the nuts and bolts really. When in a lot of solutions, technology is everything. But when it comes to being a Power Platform admin, you're really being more of a coordinator, and you do have a lot of choices to make, and a lot of those happen up front, but then comes a lot more process and people along the way. One thing I'd like to quickly put out there, and I'll add this into the chat here, is that let's see if we have a chat. We do not have a chat. I can leave this up here for a moment, so that that will make it a little bit easier to input that there. Unfortunately, I don't have the chat feature to pass this along. What I will do though is, I think I can make a short URL really relatively quick here. What that'll do then is allow you guys to be able to win some AirPods, and there's a smaller number of people that are on the call right now, so I think everybody has a pretty good chance. Amy, looks like you got your hand up, but I cannot hear you at this point. But Amy is very excited to be. Oh, there you are.
Yeah, we do have a chat, and I did put the raffle thing in the chat.
Oh, you did. Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anthony.
Yes, I just can't see it right now, so thank you for doing that. Awesome. So if you guys could just go out there and fill that out, and let us know on some more information that you would have there. So name, email, company name, and so forth. There's a couple other questions below there. Just gave a quick screenshot what to expect when you click on that link. All right, moving on. So very quickly, this is going to be a ton of information. One thing I wanted to make very clear here was, Rome wasn't built in a day, just like any of these center of excellence, or kind of going down the admin path or turning into an admin. It's not something that anybody should really expect somebody to jump right into these shoes and immediately start running. So the other part of this, I think, really resonates, where you don't have to build everything you want today. You just need to lay, a brick, and basically just lay brick by brick, and then that's how Rome was built. So really excited to have everybody here and to be able to start laying that foundation. So high level, I know that you guys are going to be familiar with these for the most part. Let's just say, which one are you most familiar with? Can we get you guys to press any of those buttons? Would be kind of exciting. We can use the thumbs up here for the Power BI if you're most familiar with that. Power Apps, we'll see a heart there, and then for the Power Automate, we'll be clapping our hands, and then for Power Automate, unfortunately, it's I think it might be laughing with Power Virtual Agents here. So we'll let you guys do that here, and as you guys kind of take part in that presentation a little bit, there are a number of tools that are out there, and this does not cover all of them. And I actually just recently added in Dataverse for Teams because that's a good talking point. But there are so many more applications that are out there that a Power Platform admin needs to understand, that it shouldn't just be one person's job to facilitate the conversations for all of these. Fortunately for me, being a consultant, this is what I do every day. So this is kind of my bread and butter. But for somebody that this isn't their sole responsibility, this could be pretty overwhelming. And as most of the people here on the call probably already know, that you get a ton of information when you type in Power Apps, a ton of information when you type in Power BI, and even for Power Automate and Power Virtual Agents too. I mean, there's just so much information out there. There's always 10 to 15 different ways of doing things. especially when it comes to Microsoft. They always provide multiple ways of doing things to make it very convenient for you. And kind of taking a step back here with Dataverse for Teams and Dataverse being the foundation for these different tools, the foundation being that this is where we're going to serve up a lot of that data. We're going to store the data there, and you're going to be able to have row level security and be able to really store that information in a way that's accessible to all of the Power Platform and very accessible and easy to, whether it's grab information, make sense of that information, or serve that information to others. And that's where you're going to see Power Automate and Power Apps be very have some great, I guess, extensibility features there. Power BI making that very visual, and then Power Virtual Agents, that's more of the bot features where you'd be able to interact with a human-like technology that kind of gives you that conversation like of being able to search for things and being able to serve people information. So certainly a reason to use each of these tools separately, but more than likely, when you do use one of these tools, you're going to be using them together. So the next piece here would be the data connectors, and a lot of these different tools that you see up top, we're all kind of familiar that the data connectors kind of, use one in Power Automate. You can use that same connector in Power Apps. That doesn't always happen to be the case for Power Virtual Agents and Power BI. They do have their own kind of set of connectors. They still, use a lot of the same ones, but there are some differentiating factors there. On top of that, the AI builder, and if you guys aren't familiar with that, that's an awesome, feature that Microsoft had come out with some time ago now, but they continuously add to that, where there's the custom side of things where you have to train your AI builder to understand what you want it to do and how you want it to, I guess, grab information or, transform that information. The other ones are going to be more canned solutions, and you use them as is, and that's the ones that Microsoft had put out saying this solves a particular need, and we understand that, and that's where kind of bringing that forward as kind of both sides of the fence there. So now that we got our foundation out of the way, I just wanted to quickly touch on those so that we could, everybody at least has that foundation as we move forward. Let's talk about the people and organizational alignment. So you're going to see some fun slides that come up, and personally, the people side of things, it being the largest gear there that we saw in the agenda, this is where I'm going to spend a little bit more of my time. We'll still touch on the other two, but the people aspect. So involve those who want to be involved, and I think you can understand this is a really big red sign that's happening there. Help wanted. I mean, honestly, there's no way one person could manage all of this on their own. Maybe at a smaller company, that's possible, and it's definitely doable. But there's still reasons why you'd want to interact with others and keep that conversation open. And one thing that we want to call out is keep an open mind to release the control. So don't hold everything close to your chest and feel that you have to take everything on. Understand what it is where people can help and delegate those out. It's going to require a little bit of creativity when it comes down to it, because there's going to be certain things that you need to make the decision on, or you have certain relationships with people and have the right connections and things of that nature, where other people may have to build those up. But kind of serving that information to them so that the other people that are going to get involved can also be successful, and doing that in a way that kind of fosters both environments. So one being, you're going to set yourself up for success by teaching them how to fish, and then the other one's going to be they're going to be able to slowly ramp into that place that you want them to be in, and then you're going to be able to work together as a partnership. And again, here at the bottom, delegate in the Power Platform. There's, as we talk about some more things that are coming up here, there are going to be a plethora of ways that you can delegate out, the community aspect, or even the champion aspect, and having users kind of contribute. I guess not users, but makers and champions, and these people that are, willing to take the next step and invest some time here. So define roles and responsibilities. There's another piece there where this is extremely important. And if you do this up front, maybe it's just one person that's taking this on, or maybe it's 2 or 3 people that are taking this on. And then there's other, folks that have the low code strategy team that is going to be leadership and organizational driven, and really understanding where does that organization want to take that low code, no code, I guess, logic and ability, and bring that into their organization in a way that makes sense for them. Because we can always open the gates and just kind of let that happen. But when we get these steering committees put together and drive that from a place with intention, that's where we're going to see, really great things happen. The Power Platform admins, that's kind of what we're talking about today, but defining your own role, because then you'll understand what it is that you need to do on a day-to-day basis, what it is that you need to do on a monthly or a bi-monthly basis, and then being able to showcase that you do have these additional responsibilities. A lot of times, being a Power Platform admin, it kind of gets added to someone's plate without really taking anything off. This is a way that if you define that up front, that it makes that a solid arrangement so that you do have the allocated time for that. Same thing here with the nurture team. There's going to be, times where you're going to deploy this team out and they're going to need to spend time on this, and I would say on a weekly basis, or if not a monthly basis, but more likely on a weekly basis, where this team is getting together and making things happen. And we'll talk a little bit about that shortly. And then the support model. So when people have questions, where do they go to get these questions? How would they get those questions? How should they expect to get served their information? So they have a request, they should get an answer in some form. And this is the way to kind of foster that environment, having some of the thought process put together up front. And then we have the fusion teams, and that's pretty much everybody here that I just mentioned above combined, in addition to the makers, in addition to the citizen developers that are just out there and trying things out, in addition to the people that really don't have anything to do with the Power Platform, but maybe it's a business analyst that's coming in to perform some actions, or maybe it's a user experience person that kind of drives it from a usability standpoint, and making sure that the culture is part of that application or solution as well. So just defining those roles and responsibilities is really important, again, to make sure that those expectations are set, and that if maybe there's going to be higher priorities too. It's not that we have to cover all of the Power Platform right away, but it's just defining what are the things that are most important to us, and who are the people that are tackling those items. So creating a nurture team, and I said I was going to cover that, and here we are. This is going to be where they need to be collaborative, extrinsically motivated. This is going to be where they get their motivation from other people, not necessarily only from other people, but interacting with other people, is they're just not shy to it. They're product advocates, so they appreciate what the Power Platform can do. So you don't want somebody that's going to say, well, I don't like that Power Platform stuff. It just isn't the right thing for me, but it's put on my plate, to go out there and advocate for it. That's not what we're going to want to see. Empower with responsibility, and that's going to be, that delegation part is, let's see how we can make this nurture team not only kind of spread the word and empower others, but also how do we, make sure that they're kind of contributing back to the overall kind of structure of what's put in place. And then also action oriented, just making sure at the end of the day that these things are happening, and these people are doers. And this kind of circles back to the Power Platform admin, because he has to, or I guess that person or group of people would need to oversee this team, not in the sense of an everyday factor, but this is going to be on that monthly basis, just making sure the nurture team is doing what they're saying they're going to do. There may even be just some type of nurture committee that happens at this place, where you have a team of people that are kind of overseeing and making sure that questions are being answered. We're giving out best practices that are truly best practices, and so forth. And you can see in my image that it says circle of trust, and that says you, and that's not the way we want to keep it. What we want to do, again, is drive that with empowerment and responsibility. That's where we need to bring this team in close, and then also create them as part of an inner circle to have more of that conversation. So with that, we have more of the community-driven, more of the doers, the people, the boots in the ground that are really, making this work. Then we also need to create leadership buy-in, and that's where we need to make sure that leadership understands the low-code, no-code movement. It's not that they need to really buy into every piece of it, but it's the automation, it's the idea behind, being able to automate your tasks and how much that can save individuals on an everyday on an everyday basis or weekly. It's a lot of those things that we can bring to them and automate. We could automate a lot of their lives and help them out too. So this just creating awareness and then also creating buy-in there from an organizational impact perspective. Ultimately, what we need to do is what's gonna happen as an admin. You're going to be driving this culture change. Maybe not you and yourself, but you're going to be a big part in that, in what people can and cannot do or can use, and what the best practices are, and kind of helping kind of adjust some of that. And again, completely depends on the roles and responsibilities and what's set up in front of you. But ultimately, the culture change is driven by everybody. But that top-down buy-in is certainly important. And then also, like we just talked about with that nurture team, that bottom-up buy-in is also very important. And that's where we see that positive culture change. So with that, we have the nurture team. And inside of that nurture team, we're going to have these, product champions. It's something that isn't needed at every single organization because it might be combined that it's just one person that advocates for the Power Platform, or maybe we have specific people dedicated to each, product, just depending on, how large the organization is, and I guess how important that is to the organization as well. So driving awareness to each of those products, understanding what it can do today, what it's where they're going as with the vision of, let's say, Power BI. I mean, it's very clear where they came from and in the direction that they're going. Same thing with Power Apps. It's very clear that they're trying to clear that barrier of entry, making it really easy for end users to come in and just immediately start building. But being able to have these product champions in place that can not only understand the blockers and help, I guess, resolve those, but ultimately, driving that vision and the buy-in, and then also, I guess, having the confidence that these tools can solve a lot of problems and ultimately can slim down your other tools that you may have and consolidate too. So keeping all those things in mind, these product champions can be a great kind of start in the right direction to further understand a deep dive into each of these products. And you see here on the left of the image, that's going to be our SharePoint site that really, I guess, enumerates the fact that there's a community around these different products, and these product champions would help drive some of that awareness there. So not to be confused with the maker community, because the product champions, it's going to be a small group. It's going to be that inner circle. We have the broader community of the builders and the makers. Those are the people that are the everyday, automation drivers, that they have something in front of them that they maybe do once a week or once a day or 5 times a day. They're going to want to, automate some of these things. We have to get those product owners in front of, some of the things that the makers want to do, so that we can, unblock them, ensure that they have the capability of doing so. And if they have questions, that we can get them some answers and start building those connections, whether it's at Microsoft or with third-party consultants like myself, but being able to have, kind of that support model in place. Again, so this is around fostering a self-supporting network. The maker community can give back in the sense of, this is how I solve that problem. If somebody else is asking a question, or if you're just really excited and you built a solution, you want to share it out, this is how I did that. This is a great way to do that. Having sub channels are important, because you don't want everybody collaborating in the same space, then it gets kind of crazy. So whether it's on a per product basis or it's more functional, like in HR and IT, how they're doing certain things, you can kind of base that on however your culture may be. But certainly the sub channels certainly do help break that up a little bit. It's going to be a place that we should not stop anybody from asking questions there. And I know that everybody says there's no such thing as a dumb question, but really making sure that on paper, I guess, or in a community, which is typically, you're going to see through Yammer or Teams or whatever the case may be, you're going to see that come through a lot in text. Not everybody understands the way that you're going to be putting something down in text, or that somebody else is, kind of commenting on something. So just being aware and making sure that's an open place for questions and answers. And then also rewarding just the people that are kind of the top contributors that should be part of this maker community that is being driven by either the product owners or that nurture team. And having moderators that can kind of help those open questions and make sure that we're steering people in the right direction. So that kind of wraps it up with the people side of things. Really excited to kind of have shared that side of things with you guys. Now we're going to dive into the process and understanding how work takes place. And I wanted to say, like, processes can be really great and straightforward, and you can understand them, or it can be kind of confusing, kind of like this intersection in Milwaukee, where I'm from. You see this and you have no idea how to get to where you need to go. This has been something that's a running joke in Milwaukee, so I figured I'd share that with you guys. Making work visible is going to be, I think, the most important thing to building a process and understanding, what it is that people are doing, not only from a nurture perspective or a product owner perspective, but how we can integrate the two. So you can use Microsoft Planner. That's what you see the picture of here, or Azure boards. And then also just having a cadence to meet with the core and the primary people here to keep everybody in sync. That's going to be important. As an admin yourself, to understand, what it is that these other people are kind of promoting. You don't need to oversee that and stop things from happening, but you can certainly kind of have your hand in the pot to make sure that everybody's kind of playing nicely. And it's not your job to be the moderator, but in the sense that they're abiding by the rules that you have set in place, or that your team of people have set in place. So that can be very exciting and very helpful to facilitate some great topic of conversation. All right, so I have 6 minutes left. I'm going to cruise through here. Prioritize accordingly. So with having everything visible, just make sure that you're understanding what those top priorities are. On top of that, how can I better serve my employees? And that's, as an admin, you can create these repeatable frameworks. So with that, there's the intake process. So just like we showed you guys a form earlier today, making sure that you're capturing all that information up front and minimizing the dialogue between you and somebody that has a question is going to be key. It's going to really facilitate a great response time, and then also overall satisfaction. Training and best practices, making sure that those are available. As you learn something, put something out for the organization. Same thing with creating the wikis and internal use cases. That will come up a little bit more in the technology section, but being able to keep an eye on that, especially during these product introductions, where there are new technologies coming out all the time, like Dataverse for Teams, brand new in the last, I think it was 6 months or a year, where that had just kind of popped up out of nowhere, and it happened, and it's been super great. This is a way that you can really showcase to people how they can use Dataverse for Teams in a way that is free for the organization. And it's a database that's right in front of you that you can do a lot more than you can with the classic SharePoint lists. So moving on here, the technology and putting a system in place. So review, there's the overall admin analytics. This is something that would be on a weekly basis, probably just a quick 15-minute check, but just making sure that, is there anything out of the ordinary? This is something that every 28 days, or I'm sorry, it keeps historical data for 28 days. Every 3 hours, it does refresh. So there's no reason to go in there every hour and check it. I don't think there's really a reason to check it every 3 hours, but this will give you at a high level exactly what's kind of going on inside of your tenant to make sense of that data, and it gives you some visualizations. So with that, there's tenant and product specific breakdowns in there as well, but also enabling the technology to work for you. That is turning on audit logs in your tenant. It's probably already on. It's on by default. It wasn't at some point in time. I recently saw that they had switched that. But making sure the audit logs are on so that you can go back and view that information. You can go and specifically dig in and how many times has this app actually been opened. So you can dive into some serious detail there. Monitor new connectors. There's going to be new connectors that are coming out every week. Power automate. It's like on average probably like 10 to 15 new connectors every month. So really exciting stuff there. And then establish tenant level settings. Ton of information to dive in there, but just make sure that you're looking at that up front before you're kind of promoting this out to everybody. Automate repetitive processes. So if you're seeing something that come in more than once, keep an eye on that. So I have 3 minutes left. Quick small plug here with the install for the COE starter kit. Very simplistic to install, very quick, and it's painless. It's come miles and miles of ways before you had to do so many just very small things to get this to work. Now it's the click of many buttons still, but just a lot less. Create an early release tenant. This will, early release environment. This will actually help just drive you understanding what's coming next, especially if you're a big Dynamics customer or you're a big Power Platform Dataverse customer, that's where you're going to want to have one of these early release tenants. Understand that the new things that are coming in, it may affect the way that you're using it, and this is just one way to kind of keep track of that. Create clear channels of communication. This is where you can have a Yammer community, you can have a Microsoft Teams, or you can have SharePoint. There are other tools that you can use, but these are the three that I typically see myself recommending more often than not. Starting in specific areas like maybe Teams or SharePoint, and then backing into Yammer. If you already have Yammer, then maybe it's easy to spin up. But at the end of the day, focus on what matters most. Understand, from the organization level, what are the people focusing on, what it is that you guys want to focus on, maybe what you guys, where you see the most need or where you see the most pain. Focus on those areas and just make sure that you're covering that, and then kind of back into the other areas as you see fit. So that is the last slide here, and I'm really excited to have been here to share all this information. There's so much more that we can dive into. Please reach out to myself or the others on the call, Amy and Victoria. Great people to talk to, and certainly sign up for some additional information if you guys are looking for anything that revolves Power Platform and in the collaborative space. So thank you so much again, and I will close it out now. If you guys have any questions, I don't think I can even get you guys off mute at this point, but feel free to reach out on LinkedIn, Anthony Escobedo, and we can certainly chat on there. So thank you so much.